It is 5:05 at the last hour here on a Thursday. All that rain that was starting to bubble up when we first started the show, there was thunder just outside my studio, but it's all good now. Most of that stuff's disappeared from the radar. I've been trying to spread the good word. There are a few computer models. These aren't forecasts. These are just computers trying to guess at it that show some indications of some cooler weather, not cold, but cooler weather maybe by the end of the month, just in a couple of weeks. Could see a little shot of drier air, and it should be right on time for the approach of fall. We'll all keep our fingers crossed for that. I just I just went outside to pee in the woods. Yeah, I said it because I live in the country, and this is why I moved here. And dude, I mean, I was out there literally during the course of that last break, and I came back in sweating. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Just came in all sweaty. It's really sticky out there. It's summer, and it's only going to get warmer next week. In fact, if you're listening over in West Alabama, you may be in the hundreds. You may see triple digits by this weekend. And so we got at least another sweltery week coming, and a little bit drier than we've been facing for most of summer. Let me get back to the top of things and start here with some of the stuff we've already covered. Got room for more of your phone calls, too. Had some good calls tonight already. Tapco bringing you the show tonight. That's Michael and all the folks downtown at Total Automotive Performance Company. I've still got to get an appointment with him on my truck. Man, the more stuff you have, the more stuff you got to deal with, right? So I know I've got to do an oil change. I've got a body bushing system I need to get ordered and get done. I've just got to get my schedule done where I'm over on that side of the town. But these guys are just really, really good. My plan, and I hope will be your plan, is to get to know them by using them for your routine stuff. That's when we predictably every, 5,000 miles, depending on what kind of car you have, need to go in and get that oil change, get the filters done, routinely wipers and those kind of things. And once you're in their system and you get to know how they work, you know where the location is. When something does go wrong, and it can and it will, especially if you got an older car, they're there for you, and they can solve anything. These guys, probably the highest trained service technicians in the city, maybe the state. For example, the state, Leah brings all their stuff to them. They drive these cars hard in Aaliyah, and they trust them for their fleet maintenance, and so do many other companies. If you're in business and part of your headache of running your business is keeping those vehicles moving that you use for your business, let Michael and his team have a whole program for managing fleet stuff. He's just good. He and his team, he hires great people, and they take good care of you. I love the courtesy vehicle. You don't see that much nowadays, but they'll give you a ride if it's within reason. If you want to drop it off in the morning and pick it back up that afternoon, talk to him about how that works too. It's called Tapco, Tapco, and the website is Tapco Beham. We got two abbreviations there. TapcoBeham.com. They're on 6th Avenue South, down there close to our friends at Birmingham Broker and Iron City, that whole part of South Side in Birmingham. Get to know Michael. You'll really appreciate this shop. Speaking of mechanics, let me throw this update in. My mind was blown yesterday. The audience got caught up, I think, emotionally in our friend that we sent the bicycle over to. He called last week. Some of you heard the call. Very innocently, just wanting to put the word out that he wanted to buy a bicycle. He wanted to get to work. And his name is Jack. We're just going to call him Jack. And so Jack, he wasn't looking for charity. He was just looking for an old donor bike because he had acquired a motor, and his work is 15 miles away, and he just looking for a bicycle. And I just happened to have one that I was willing to donate. So I said, you can have mine. Here's my bike. So our buddy Tim, who listens, he's also a listener, and he was working close by yesterday. I was having trouble trying to connect with Jack. Jack's from over in Talladega. So Tim, wonderful guy. I didn't even get to meet him yesterday. He came in during our show. I was in the middle of the John Rich interview. He didn't want to interrupt, so he comes out, left the bike out for me. He came, picked it up, and got it to him. He got it to Jack through yet another third party. And so I didn't know but I was curious, how's he going to put a motor on this thing? And sure enough, this morning I wake up, and he had sent me this last night, but I was already passed out. He he placed the motor and the little gas tank and the whole setup on there to show me what it was going to look like. I was stunned. I mean, he has turned this thing into a little motorcycle, and he's still got to finish all the work and get all the mounts done and all that. But I'm promising you, the audience wants to know how this is going. So when he gets done, I don't know that he wants me to post the picture of the mock-up because he's still working on it. And if you're a person that works with these things, you want it to be right before somebody looks at it. But he was excited about, because it fit, everything fit. The attempts he had made before did not fit. And I'm just kind of a nut for those things. I've actually built a motorcycle one time and just to learn how to do it. And I was fascinated as to how he was going to pull it off. So that thing looked cool, man. I didn't know my old bike would look that cool with a motor and a gas tank. It was almost like it was built for it. The top cross piece was kind of arched in a perfect shape to put that tank on there. So again, people have reached out and go, how's the bike project going? I'm going to post that when he's ready. I asked him to send me more pictures, even a video of the situation. What captured my attention with him is that the man's just trying to get to work in a time with generations of people who are willing to give up on work. You know, the concept of work, can I go deep? Can we get philosophical? The concept of work is being challenged right now, right in our face. Do y'all realize this? I mean, I'm from a textile town that was basically abandoned, and I was surrounded by people with this sort of Appalachian work ethic. All of us, when we all were in the same basket, the black folks, the white folks, everybody I grew up with, nobody had a whole lot of anything. And the one thing we were taught by our elders was you work. You work at football practice, you get your butt to your job on time. There's dignity in it. There's value in it. And some people just have that ingrained in them. And I worry that we're sort of losing that for several reasons. One, we got this COVID generation that came along. Some were trying to get into the work scene. There's multiple reasons why the death of work. Maybe I should write something on this. They were paid to sit home for almost a year, and they liked it. And some kept signing up for these programs. It was like we created a whole new welfare class. And then you've got the way our government has devalued money and overvalued education. Let me say that again. They have devalued money and overvalued particularly university education. You've got these people that are now generally referred to as over-credentialed. They got 3 or 4 degrees. They got masters. They've stayed in and ran up all kind of debt, and their value of that education is not valuable to employers. So they can't find a job. And if they do find a job, they're overqualified for the job, and they're probably not going to stay. Employers recognize that because they don't want to train and start over. They think the world owes them 6 figures because they got a piece of paper, and it's just not reality because the economy's shifting, everything's shifting on us. These kids are kind of lost. That's where the so-called affordability crisis is coming from. And I said this yesterday, I'm going to kind of go back over it. The federal government and the Fed and our ridiculous Congress, both parties, by the way, spent so much money during the shutdown, and then the stupid Biden bill, because they spent all that money, locked us down, cheated, stole an election, put a robot in, they put a Roomba robot in as president, ran the presidency with a committee, passed a bill through these people in Congress to spend more money into the system with this dumb, I can't remember what they called the bill. It had some fake name on it, Inflation Reduction Act or something like that. And all it did was inflate the money. Here's what they did. 40%, this is going to fly over some people's heads, but most of y'all will understand this. 40% of the dollars floating around in our system right now, and most of them are just digital dollars, so they don't even exist. 40% of the dollars floating around in the American economy were printed money during that time period. It's monopoly money. And the more dollars you have in an economic system, the less each dollar is worth. You've divided the value by that many more shares. If you look at a dollar as a share of value in the economy, if you put more shares in there, they're all worth less. That's what your government has done to your money. So you've got this generation of kids that are trapped in this inflation crisis that we're still dealing with, over-credentialed, improper work ethic. They're taught the wrong things at university anyway, how to hate the country and cut off your penis, or whatever they're teaching nowadays, how to hate your identity, all this social engineering nonsense. Then you add the fact that they plowed the country to sabotage the country with all these illegals, some of which don't have any real education, but they'll work their ass off. And they've come here and out hustled a bunch of lazy Americans who think they're too good to do those jobs. Not all of them. Clearly, some of them are thugs and criminals and need to be kicked out. But a whole group of people came here because they recognize the opportunity. They come from real poverty situations, not like this manufactured stuff people talk about nowadays. And they've come in here and undermined those opportunities for sort of uneducated workers and low-skilled workers, and are better at it. They show up on time. They work harder. They got a better work ethic. So back to the work ethic. So you've got all this storm of the dying work ethic starting to, some people have just given up. They don't see how they can get a return on that hard work. Some people are embracing socialism, which is theft. Socialism is for lazy people. It's for people, I said it a little while ago, capitalism is not evil. There's nothing evil about capitalism. It's not even really a system. It just says, hey, good luck. You can keep everything you earn according to your hustle. Go get it. And some people just are not going to do that. Some people will try it and fail and give up. Some people will hustle till they get there. Some people just don't want to do it. And that population of people that don't want to do it are suddenly embracing these ideas of socialism, which means they're entitled to what you did. They're entitled to what the generation before them went out and earned. They're entitled to part of what you own. That's so unfair and will crush our entire economy like it always does. People, it's theft. It's theft through the government. They use the point of a gun of government to take money away from you through taxation and everything else and put it in their pockets. It really gets laundered back to the whole political power scheme. So you've got socialists who are by definition the laziest people that ever lived. You got genuine laziness, which is biblical. I mean, you got sloth. You've got an entitlement system. You got these conspirators that have all ganged up on the economy. And then let me throw this at you while I'm just thinking it through, and I'm interested in your comments too. You got this idea that AI is going to take over everything else. Now what? It's the death of work. There's a whole nother thing out there that's about to pile on all this. Not only do you have this lazy group of people, they're all over the place out there, entitled, arrogant, self-righteous, sort of worthless to their fellow man. They're not willing to do their part. So they just stand around and demand things because it's a right. It's a human right. It's my dignity. It's your sorry ass off the couch. That's dignity. Anyway, so now we got this AI concept where people that are in a work zone that I don't want to say above, but it's a separate place than unskilled workers, hands-on labor, those kind of things. In this space, hey, I'm talking about lawyers, creative types, people that work with computers, people that do all this kind of production where they're producing art, and they're about to completely be out of any opportunity to work in those fields because no one has to pay for their services anymore. Their labor, their creative product is not necessary because a computer can do it. The system can do it. AI can do it. The robot can do it. And it won't be all the lawyers, but a bunch of them. It won't be all the HR people, but a bunch of them. Automation, automatic stuff, systemization, scalability, affordability. The robot doesn't call in sick. The robot doesn't sue the co-robot for sexual harassment. The robot may turn into Skynet, but for now, it's got so much upside promise to people who need to get things done. Even in your life, there'll be things you'll want to do with this technology to make your life more efficient. And suddenly you yourself won't have to pay for things you used to pay for because it's done right there for you. So where's the work going to be? Where are the paychecks in that economy? And to retailers, how are you going to sell your stuff if there are no paychecks? We're in a quandary, and the problem with it all is it's coming faster than we can adjust. Does that make sense? It's coming so fast. Usually there's a transition period. we'll use an old example. In the days of the invention of the automobile, there were people that were in the horse and buggy business, and they arrogantly thought, who's going to ride around on those things? Well, eventually the automobiles take over. There's paved roads. We pop up gas stations so you can refuel. And the old way of transportation starts to fade, but that took decades. The transition was slow. Hell, there were parts of America in the 1950s that still didn't have proper roads or a whole lot of cars. People were still riding on animals. So it took a while, and you had time to see it coming and to adjust. And this is coming like a flash. And you're going to be standing there looking around one day going, what the hell? So you better be nimble. You better have some skills. You better have some value. You better know what your value is. Part of becoming wealthy or having anything in this life is not letting an employer tell you what you're worth, but deciding yourself what you're worth and proving it. Not just demanding it, but proving it. And so if there's lessons, if you're talking to younger people, if you're talking to that generation, there's some of your kids and grandkids, you better start schooling them on it, because things are changing on them. It's going to change on them even faster than some of us. It's an amazing time. We're being confronted by a lot of things in this age, and we got to start working on getting a handle on it for sure. Birmingham Broker next up here on the show. Craig and Keith and that whole team down there. Y'all let them help you. They've got the system for getting your car, truck, or SUV sold. They're just good at brokering your vehicle out to the world. If you sell it yourself, you can probably sell it yourself, but it's going to be a pain in the ass, and you may not even get the best price. And if you do, you're going to be searching for what that ought to be and guessing at it. They know what your car is worth at Birmingham Broker. They know what it'll sell for. They know how to market it to the people that might be interested. They got buyers on the hook. In fact, Craig and Keith sold just a couple weeks ago. They'd sold everything that was down there on the lot. He reached out to me and said, we got to have more cars. We're selling everything. It's a seller's environment right now. It really is, in the used market, in the pre-owned market. So that's what they're there for, to represent you in the deal and get that ride sold. BeHamBroker.com, BeHamBroker.com. Back here in a minute. All right, 526, Leland Live, talking Internet 5, Michelson Laser Vision. Next up here on the show, Dr. Mark, Dr. Jennifer, that whole team. Man, they're ready to help you see better. We've got so many people that you just struggle with it. You're out there on your own and got your glasses and contacts like I did, and you just think that's life, and you get used to it. I did too. I thought my glasses were fine. I mean, you couldn't convince me. I thought my glasses were kind of cool. I kind of like wearing them some days. But man, I'm glad to have those out of my life. The when they get smudgy and they slide all over your face, especially in sweaty weather like this. With the contacts, it was even worse. I was bad about not changing them. I switched to these daily wears where you're supposed to put fresh ones in the morning, toss them, and then put, go to sleep and get up and put some more. Man, I'd wear them for 2, 3 days. I was kind of being cheap and stretching out the life of them, but I was just too lazy to. I'd fall asleep with them all the time. That's just unhealthy. I don't know how you roll, but that's how I rolled until I got LASIK and everything changed. Dr. Michelson's practice is a thorough practice, the latest technology, the legendary practice. They brought the first laser to the whole state and have been leading everything since. These are the folks I trust. This is not discount fly by night stuff. I don't know, in a mall food court. Here's a practice that's going to be here for years. Dr. Jennifer, I'm sure, will just take the whole reins. She's giving excellent care alongside her father too, and they both take good care of me. They'll take care of you. It's Michelson Laser Vision. See if it's right for you. Michelson Laser Vision, downtown UAB Highlands, michelsonlaservision.com. Two other stories I haven't had a chance to shove in there yet. One is this. I heard Richard and Val talking about it, and they'll have details on it tomorrow. But this Mangione character, what's his name, Luis Mangione, that shot the healthcare CEO in the back, may tomorrow enter a plea of guilty in the case. They've called a special hearing, and finally he's going to plead out. They've got a really strong case against him. Some people believe he's pleading in the federal case to try to help his state case where he faces harsher punishment. So we'll see how that plays out tomorrow, but that bears watching. And the other New York story, it's hilarious. This Mondami thing is just falling apart on him all over the place. The false promises, the pie in the sky stuff, he can't do any of it. So he continues to fail. And then we find out about he's got a rent advisor, a person that is his consultant on how to handle the rental situation. He just got slapped down for trying to tax people's second property in the city. A court just put that on hold. He's got nowhere to go for all this money he needs. His rent advisor is a squatter. I'm not making this up. His rent advisor has not paid rent in years and will not leave the property she's in, and is considered by the law a squatter in the city of New York. You can't write this stuff. The hypocrisy is so thick you can cut it with a butter knife. All right, back here in a minute. Leland Live, 545-9950 is the phone number if y'all want to get on the phone. We'll take some phone calls and call it a day here in just a minute. Y'all stay tuned. All right, it's 5:34, Leland Live, talking NM5. Time to talk to our man Thomas over at Stockton Mortgage. They're making people's dreams come true all the time, or maybe even just helping you out ahead of Christmas. That'd be my tip today, Thomas. Don't go rack up cards and then deal with this later. Just go ahead and do your cash out refi and use your own money and take care of the holidays.
That's right, man. Whether you're looking to do a home equity line or just a straight refinance, depending on your situation, we can do either. We have home equity lines available, and we also have just regular refinances. Depending on your credit situation, you may can qualify for a home equity line and leave your first mortgage alone, or if your credit situation is such that we may have to do a full refinance, we can look at it doing it that way. If your credit situation or your income situation is, we may have to do bank statement. We can do refinances doing bank statement or, the 1099 that we've talked about before. So we've got many products available to do a refinance cash out for you. And in some cases, we can go up to 85%. Cash out on a first mortgage or, on a home equity line, we can go in some cases up to 95% on a cash out. And on a VA, if you're a veteran, in some cases we can go up to 100% on cash out on a VA loan. So give us a call today. Let us sit down and work a plan for you. 205-859-8859 or savewithstockton.com.
Savewithstockton.com. We'll check with you tomorrow, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Hard to believe it's almost Friday. Thanks, buddy. Hard to believe it's almost Friday. Boy, it is just it's been something else today. Let me go back. I doubled back during the break to see if there's anything new, and I have not seen any new developments on our police-involved shooting down at St. Vincent's. I know it's called UAB St. Vincent's now, but it's really kind of a mysterious. Let me scroll over here and see if my little bro Carol, she'd hate me. Y'all do not tell her I said that. But Carol and I we used to cover the cop beats when we were young little journalist babies. The last post I saw that she put up was a couple of hours ago. By now, many of you know there was some kind of thing at McDonald's about 12:30 today that resulted in a police chase that wound up in the parking deck over at UAB St. Vincent's. Witnesses heard 5 shots. We know the person being chased is dead. We don't know anything about the person, what caused the fracas, if the person was armed and pulled on the cops, or why shots were fired at all. But they're still working on the scene. These things are, the way it typically goes is when there's a police-involved shooting like this, they got to call in a third-party outside agency to investigate. That's typically ALEA. So they've got to secure the scene, not do anything to contaminate the scene. In this case, I guess they wouldn't need to render aid. They're right there at a hospital. None of the patients were in danger, it seems. I don't know about other witnesses that might have been in the immediate parking deck. So they've got to isolate those witnesses. ALEA would have to come in with their unit to investigate. And so that's always going to be a slower process. And anytime you're processing a death scene, it's just going to be more involved. So if we get any other news, or the police come out and do a news conference or something, sometimes they don't say anything for a while because they're waiting on ALEA to get there and to take over the case. But they'll have something to say probably this evening. We'll let you know if they do. Right now, let's go to the phones. In line 1, it's Chase. What's up, Chase?
Oh, not much, Leland. You're preaching the truth as always, but I kind of want to add a little caveat to what you were saying earlier. So, you're talking about the, worrying about AI and everything. I mean, I agree. I think AI is going to take over. I just disagree on the fact I think it's going to take over quite as fast as you were thinking. But I do agree with you that it eventually is going to take over. But what I get aggravated about when I hear you talk about it is the fact that, you talk about all these people who got lazy over time, and it aggravates the snot out of me because, I unfortunately got laid off at the beginning of 2024, and to finding another job, has been a little difficult. So I took a job working at a grocery store just to, help provide for my family and everything. And it aggravates me to hear people complaining, but yet they're not wanting to get up and do anything. But I also get aggravated at the fact that I hear people who come into my store and shopping and are fussing about how, well, we just can't keep people and we can't find anybody to come work. And, you know, it's like, on the same side, there are people who are willing to work. I just wonder, are the companies still willing to train them? And that, you know, that's something I've been going back and forth on, you know, with me trying to look for new employment and everything to find a better position. But
well, let's break that down, Chase, because I'm glad you called. You're right in the sort of demo of where we need to be where the society needs to be talking. So first up, clearly it's not everybody. It's not a whole generation of people, but there's becoming a larger body that are affecting the statistics and the hireability in a generation. It's not everybody. Thank God there's still Chases in the world. I'll give you an example. I had a guy come out today. He's let's just say he works for a telecommunication company. I'm having to make some improvements. He came up here from Florida. This guy probably wasn't 23 years old. But he came up here to help the company that sent him out here because they're short staffed. So he's living in Alabama temporarily. This kid was articulate. He was polite. He showed up on time. Well, he got delayed by his own company. Hard working, standing out there in the heat, trying to figure out stuff. And just a guy you almost wouldn't expect in that category, knew everything about everything technically that he needed to do. And it gave me hope that there's still people like you and him that will work if you can get matched. And that's where we're mismatched to something that fits your values and you're capable of doing. So with the AI, you're right. In general, it won't affect everybody right away, but there's some categories that it's going to affect immediately. So what you're going to have is a flood of people that are trained one way. Maybe even you get somebody my age that's done the same thing till they're 60 years old. They're hard to train. They got a different stage of life. Somebody your age is a lot more flexible. There's just going to be disruption until it settles back down between the people willing to work and where the opportunities are and how that matches up. And you are dead on the training. We have wrongly emphasized for years, as you're talking about, practical skills, real work, and we've got to redo that. We've got to rethink all of that so that people that are willing to do these jobs, I do believe Americans are willing to do these jobs, can get lined up to do these jobs. For example, our friend Mike over at ProLift Garage, he heard my little rant a second ago too, and he said there's something now called, and you might want to know about this, Chase, the Central Alabama Home Building Academy. They're actually, it's a new program. If you're over 18, they will do some of this basic trades training that is so needed out there, and you can make really, really good money in HVAC, plumbing, framing houses. I mean, we had seeded that over to our friends from south of the border at some point. Construction companies are desperate to find people to do the basics of construction, but that's good work and that's good money in it. And but we're going through a shift that we've got to figure out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, Leland, you're gonna laugh. I tried working in the construction industry. My degree is in a type of construction management. Yep. And I'll be honest, I don't use it because working in that industry, I had a very bad experience working in that industry, and I tried a couple of times to start at it again, but it seemed like the same thing over and over. And so I stepped away from it and tried to learn a different skill, which is where I got into IT. And IT has been hard to get into because they want people with experience that they don't have to train.
Yeah,
and that has been my biggest hurdle.
I agree. Well, you know, we got a whole state agency that's supposed to be doing this work, and I think they're trying in some ways, but there's the best word I can come up with for it, Chase, is a mismatch between what's the real world need and what our training opportunities have been providing, and the needs are shifting faster than, as you pointed out, than the training has.
Yep, you're absolutely right, and I mean it's aggravating because I mean when you're a family of five, you know, especially if you just had a newborn, you're still working, you know, you're working at a job that yes, I know I'm a little overqualified for what I'm doing, but I'm doing it simply because it's helping me keep my head above water.
Yep.
Right now with my family, and so like that's something that I've noticed that we as Americans have lost that drive to want to just do whatever you've got to do until that better opportunity comes along.
And some of these, how old are you, Chase? You told me this before. How old are you one time?
I'm 39.
Okay. So you got people your age and a little bit younger. You're a little bit older than my sons. They're now being told a false promise from some of these political types in this election year that some of that stuff can just be handed to you, that you're owed it. And we're losing that message. I think that generations taught that you got to put your boots on. If you don't work, you don't eat. Get out there and go. That's how the Depression worked out. That's how the wars worked out. When all the men went off to war, the women stepped up and went to the factories. Sometimes we got to adjust, and we got to know those lessons too.
I'm sorry, but I'm only owed what I earn. I don't. Nobody
Good for you.
owes me anything.
Hallelujah.
I earn it. I have to earn it. And so whoever thinks that I'm owed this, that, no, you're not. You're only owed what you earn. So get off your butts and go to work. And one last thing, Leland, everybody go vote.
It's too late. Thanks, man. All right, Chase.
All right, bye.
That's a good word. Chase fired me up. I love hearing from people, especially people younger than me that haven't lost that. The problem is we got to preach against this false teaching that somebody's just going to hand you stuff. Nobody's going to hand you stuff. Nobody owes you anything. You don't have a right to these things. You don't. You've got a right to go get them. You got a right to earn them. You don't have a right to just stick your hand out. That's not our system, and it never will be. And any system that says it can deliver that is lying to these kids. It just is. And by the way, we need y'all to step up because we're getting old. We're going to be retired. Somebody's got to run this thing. There are people in my generation going to be done. We're going to take it to the house. Y'all got to figure it out. We need the next generation to step up in a big way. And they're out there. I know they're out there. In fact, this young man that used to be in one of my Sunday school classes back in the day reached out. He wants to talk this week. I'm very interested to see how he's doing. These are some good kids out there. No doubt about it. My man, Danny Knowles, he's long in the tooth like me. Danny and I went to high school together. Danny Knowles, I mean, here's a guy, I'm going to tell you, Danny, he wouldn't mind me saying it. He had very, very humble circumstances growing up. He did. He and I both. I mean, we were in the same rickety boat growing up. We probably had a quarter mile apart where our houses were. Everybody knows everybody in the town the size of the place where we grew up. Danny wasn't handed anything. This guy did it himself with his wife, Sherry, who's from our same town. And he's become fabulously successful. Maybe financially the most successful guy in our class. And I'm proud of him. And he's raised his sons to be that way. That's how you got to do it. So y'all reach out to him if you want somebody to give you advice on your money. If you're starting out, maybe you had to dip in there because of a crisis. You had to dip in your IRA or your savings and use it for some of this crazy stuff in the last few years. Get back on track. Danny's got a plan for that. Maybe you got wiped out and you got to start over. He's got a plan for that. Maybe you're just starting out, first time you've ever thought about having professional advice. He's got plans for that. This team knows how to project what you need, figure out the plan, give you the discipline you need, or give you the guidance you need, and encourage you in your discipline to get there when you want to be there. It's the Knowles Group. Y'all can listen to them on the weekends, on Saturday and Sundays, right here on the station, the KnowlesGroup.com, the KnowlesGroup.com. And so many of our sponsors have a lot in common, and I'll go right from that to Greg Nelson at Storm Restoration, because here too is a guy who's got 10 kids, and they're just about, I think nearly all of them are working directly with him in that business. That is hard work. Getting up on roofs in the hot heat and figuring this stuff out, getting these projects done, dealing directly with customers, sometimes under pressure because you're in an emergency. There's just been a storm and everything's all hell's breaking loose and people need tarps and they need repairs. And he's taught those guys how to work. He told me one time he had, and it's another one of our sponsors. I'll just put all these guys together. He told me one time he sent a couple of his sons over to work with Eric Crocker at Crocker Moving Services so they could learn how much harder it can be to get out there in the world and use your strong back. He thought it'd be good for him, and it was. And he believes in that stuff, and he raised his family that way. And that's why you're going to get the best roofing service you can possibly imagine when you call Greg Nelson. He's been out to my house on and off all week. They're getting ready to put I think we're finally ready for him to come put the shingles on my project. And he has matched it up perfectly. I know it's going to be right. And it's good to have him as a friend and recommend him to you if you're in an emergency or your roof's just getting old or any of the things in between. They can interface with your insurance companies. You got to do that correctly. It's part paperwork, part labor with these things, and they do both so well at Storm Restoration. He works on a phone number, and that number is, you ready? I always give you a little heads up so you can jot it down. I know some of y'all are driving and busy. 205-542-3531. Let me slow that down. 205-542-3531. Again, the company is Storm Restoration, and you need to put that number somewhere because you may not need it today, but you might. And when you do, it'll be where you put it. Storm Restoration. And I was speaking of Crocker. Let me just get him in here too. Eric Crocker, another fine example of a guy who went in the Marine Corps. He comes out, chooses one of the hardest professions out there, moving furniture. Are you kidding? Most of us, they say moving furniture is like having a death in the family. Eric's good, man. He runs a tight ship. He hires good people. He finds strong, young, it's usually younger men that can handle this kind of work, trains them well, brings them to your house, gets it done. They've got a 2-hour minimum rate. And that means for a minimum of 2 hours, they'll come out and do what you need. But of course, if you need more hours than that, they're very good at calculating what they do and not underestimating, I guess, and then surprising you with the bill. They'll take care of your stuff, whether it's just 1 or 2 big heavy things or a lot of things. It is CrockerMovingServices.com. CrockerMovingServices.com. Back in a minute. All right, it's 5:54, and we're going to boogie and get on out the door and make way for Breaking Bread. I was chatting with Will earlier today about some stuff. He's got some really interesting stuff coming up on the show tonight. Y'all might want to tune in, even if you're not a foodie. Will doing some things tonight you'll be interested in. I'll let them introduce that. All American Metals bringing you the show tonight too. Man, I love my pole barn. I really do. It's my way to relate to these projects. I've never built a commercial warehouse or a retail space or mini storage or all these other things they do, but I got a pole barn and I love having my stuff in there, in here. I'm in it right now. If you're watching on YouTube, this is my little corner of the world where I get a lot of work done. They go up so fast per square foot when you compare prices. It's just so durable and affordable, and it's everything you need. There's a lot of work to do after the building gets erected, for sure. You got to, if you want to run electrical or plumbing or do walls and decorate it, do all these things. And the creativity of these projects is blowing minds nowadays. This is where the whole barndominium movement came from. It's All American Metals. Again, another two-generation family, two families from multiple generations all the way back to the 60s. Steel is in their core of what they are and what they'll do for you. They're going to beat their bigger competitors on price. You've got total custom control because they're going to produce that building in their factories right here in Birmingham, all of it, and bring it to you on their trucks and control the whole supply chain. For some reason, if something's not quite right, they'll fix it because they're your neighbors. They're right here and they're 100% experts. John and the whole team at the Steel Business. It's aa-metal.com. If you want a shed or a pole barn or much bigger project, this is how you grow. It's aa-metal.com. Let me double back to a story I talked about earlier. This happened at midnight last night for you gun nuts. Let's talk. It's one of the biggest 2A victories I think we are going to see. My man Tommy over at Hueytown Pawn has been keeping me up to date on this. It involves sound suppression, or some people just like to call them silencers. They were scheduled since the 1930s in with Tommy guns and machine guns and other things that, if not clearly prohibited, required a lot of paperwork and background checks and waiting periods and all this stuff. There was a tax stamp. They made it very, very difficult to get sound suppression, and you had to get permission from the government and be on a registry, and all that got tossed after a ruling in Texas. I'm going to see if I can describe this as quickly as possible. That said that, well, if the Congress removed the tax stamp, then these other provisions don't make any sense. So you don't have to do all that anymore to get a sound suppressor. You don't have to sign over your life and go through all this paperwork. So it's liberated a whole category in the gun industry, but it applies under certain circumstances, and you still have to go through a normal gun background check that you would when you buy a gun. But it was celebrated last night out in Texas as people what happened was the Trump administration agreed not to appeal that ruling, just to let it stand, let the lower court stand, not challenge it, give freedom back to people to own what they want. And that's a big deal. Tommy over there, in fact, I reached out to him. They just happen to be an affiliate of the company involved, and they have all these sound suppressors. I'm getting over there tomorrow to pick one up for my hunting setup. Because the getting's good, and I'm telling you, this is going to create a run on these things, so just know that. And Tommy can begin selling those tomorrow. He spent the day checking with lawyers to make sure they were clear, so just know that. We'll talk about that more tomorrow, too. Maybe I'll see y'all over at Hueytown Pawn or at Lonnie's Furniture Company in a couple of days. And a week from tomorrow, we'll be there with a live show, hanging out with the crew. I need things there, too. I'm going to go shopping while we're doing the live show. Y'all come and see us if you're in North Jefferson County next Friday. And we will hang out and look at the deals. Reggie's already started that Labor Day sale. He's not waiting till Labor Day. Y'all get a jump on it while the picking's good at Lonnie's, and take advantage of the buy more, save more sale, which we'll be talking about again the rest of the week, next week, tomorrow. This weekend's a good weekend to go shopping, isn't it? It's going to be too hot to do anything else. Get inside and do some furniture shopping at Lonnie's Furniture Company off exit 280 in Kimberly, Alabama. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Goodbye, AJ.